Hello, welcome to all of my combo lords joining me here today for another Modular Mondays. In fact, this time I called it a Modular Mega Monday. You see, I've been doing streams on Mondays, and although I do like to play it 1 month at a time, where I don't want to promise a stream schedule for a whole year because good to leave your future open a bit, and sometimes a month is a good increment to promise some certain experiment for. So I did decide to only plan a month at a time, but this month we're continuing on a relatively similar path of the fixed streams being on Mondays, a little bit earlier, this time starting at 5, although typically probably going about 2 hours. I'm going to save a lot of my stream topics sometimes to condense just in Monday streams, and maybe turn some of my other weekly streams into bonus videos or other topics of content. Although you know me, and when I do have some extra time on other days of the week, I'll probably go live as well occasionally. Now, for our Monday ones, the reason this is a Modular Mega Monday, as I called it, is because not only is it a Monday, and part of why I called the modular part of the title, apart from liking alliteration, and liking modular stuff in general, like our clock type of math we've talked about, I also wanted to emphasize sort of the weekly cycle that we were landing in, and how if you pick a weekly stream, you will be landing at a certain reset on a cycle. And Monday seemed like a good one for me because it's sort of the beginning of a certain cycle, and although Sunday is technically considered the first day of the week by many, I think a lot of people would agree with me that Monday feels more like the first day of the week. It's the first day of a lot of people's work week, and it feels like the weekend days, I'm used to them feeling clumped at the end instead of feeling like one at the before and one after. So I think a lot of people would agree with me that Monday feels like the start of the week. And, you know, if I ever completely redesign society myself, I would probably call it that, although we might not even have 7-day weeks in that case. But this time, not only are we landing at the modular start of a work week again, where in a modular stream like this, I may have, 1 week's worth, apart from the fact that I do other streams in between, of extra stories to share or little toys I've gotten or whatever. But this time we're also at the start of the month, because it's May 1st. A lot of M's going on. A Mega Modular May Monday. Now, the first of a month and week, like I mentioned in a bonus video I made on this channel today, are a little bit hard for me to get committed to loving because I don't love the calendar system. And I'm often advocating for changes to be considered in society, including with calendars, where these days would no longer be the same day or the first of the month. But since we're stuck in the calendar system, we might as well sometimes appreciate having little resets like the first of a month let you say, oh, I'm going to try so-and-so as a goal or experiment or whatever this month. And this month, we will have some fun experiments, although, as usual, they'll be continuing down the lines of some experiments that we're already getting familiar with, where a lot of my focus is making number-based episodes for my combo class channel, and I should be able to have one out every weekend throughout May, with some really fun number topics. Now, some of these are topics that I was postponing for a long time and finally split a little bit into 2 or 3 different episodes, as opposed to continuing to build a brainstorm for one thing and try and fit everything into it and realize it would be too long. Some of the topics that I was saving from grade -1 for grade -2 are pretty elaborate topics with a lot you could work in, so some of them I'm just going to split to a degree and isolate a few different chunks out of them to present as their own little episodes that will make sense on their own, but especially if you watch all the main channel episodes. Now, there's other announcements for what's coming that I already mentioned in a little bonus video called Demotro's May Announcements on this channel, so I won't go into that. I will give more details about what are we going to be doing in our Monday streams. Well, after the fact, for anyone who gets bored of the stream and has to leave or whatever, remember that if you check back after it's processed as a video, it'll have timestamps of when stuff happened. Sometimes I wasn't able to put those on streams, but I'll try and make sure to be pretty consistent with that, because I know it's helpful. And then you can comb through and see what particular topics you don't want to have missed. The Monday streams will also have links to whatever extra content I put out the week that maybe I didn't send notifications for or whatever. And we'll have a few fun recurring activities, not necessarily ones we'll do every single week. Some of them maybe we will do every single week. And I was thinking for these streams on Monday, we'll have a little bit of a structure where at the beginning we'll have our welcome, and then we will, after I share whatever facts and rants I have as an introduction, we will check whatever holidays of the day and week are recurring. Now, there's a lot of funny, strange holidays that are named, and we're just going to skim through those to see if any catch my eye or any of your eyes as far as things we think are worth celebrating. Now, or to maybe also somewhat make fun of the fact that some of them are called holidays, but lovingly. It's, they can call themselves a holiday if they want, except for the ones that are pretty brand-based, in which case I don't think they deserve to be called a holiday. I think there should be a rule that if you're going to call something like National Day of something, you should be able to describe the thing without needing a product name in your National Day of. Now, another thing we'll do near the beginning is look at what number of the Modular Monday we are on, and not always pull up a whole modular chart like we did in the first few, but just see if there's anything extra notable to say about the number. For example, today's had a weird coincidence. Today's, it's the 8th time I've done the Monday stream at a fixed time, so it's basically Modular Monday number 8. But it's also, since it's the beginning of a month, an even amount of months since I posted the first video on this channel, which was on the 1st of last September. Now, that happens to be 8 months ago. So, weirdly, it's not only the 8th week I've been doing this stream, but exactly 8 months that I have been creating any content on this channel. Although I guess we got to be careful. One of those is saying it is the 8th. One of those is saying it's been 8. So a little different, by those metrics. One might be turned to a 7 or 9. But in any case, we can phrase them both in terms of 8. Now, someone's noting that every day is often National Day of something. And in fact, on the website I have pulled up before, not only is every day National Day of something, but they basically will allow anything if there's been an article written about it being National Day of something. And a lot of things have had that mentioned about them enough to have gotten some article written at some point. And so there's not only one National Day of, there's many. And I guess we'll begin by flipping through that. And a lot of weeks we'll do this pretty quickly, sometimes even missing it. But this time it'll take a little longer because I also want to see what it's supposedly National Month of. They have National Days of, National Weeks of, National Months of. I wonder if they go bigger or further on the other sides. Do they have National Year of, and National Hour of, and National Minute of? That would be, something that people should start claiming before they go all the way to a day. It's a little cocky to name all fresh out the gate National Day of my thing. What about starting with National Hour of the thing, and then if that catches on, we can build up to a day. So maybe that would be a good way to structure one of these sites. You see, based on, you have to picture holiday starting from the second increment. anyone can have national second of. Then you could have them all at different times. There could be a maximum of one per thing if it was really hard to get national day of. And, you know, there are 24 national hours of to also assign in that day. And you could, you know, anyone can claim a national second up to once a month. I don't know. So someone will come up with a good system. In any case, I'm going to shrink myself so we can take a little look at, I guess we'll actually start from the reverse of what is it national month of? And it's a lot of them. There's a lot of things that name themselves national month of. Let me shrink myself so you can see. I'm not even going to read all these. There's too many to read them all. So, let's see. Why is this not working? Uh-oh. What happened with the other background? Let me see. 1 second. Need to fix why it's not showing the background correctly. Why is that thinking it's just the background of my computer, but it's not? Okay. I'm gonna try and have to fix this, even though it's gonna look very messy for a second, possibly. Bear with me. Now, as I do this, I'll note another thing of our scheduling that we will try for each thing. And yes, I know it's going to chaos for a moment. Here we go. Now we can see the national days of. And, well, here's national months of to start. So, let me get myself back too. So, one thing we'll also do is, since I usually stream for a little over an hour up to about 2 hours, I think I'll often do a full 2 hours, sometimes maybe an hour and a half on these Monday ones. But what we'll do is, because sometimes I have to run inside to get water, go to the bathroom, or grab a prop or whatever, we will plan an intermission time, which will typically be at the same Pacific time that it was called 5 o'clock that it started, will be 5:55. We'll have a 5-minute intermission. It'll be all about fives. So, and that will be when people can, you know, plan to grab a snack yourself or whatever, or watch the wildlife here and keep an eye out for a squirrel. And then that will also be right after which I will definitely look at the comments for a minute and answer some comments. So if anybody really wants me to possibly look at a comment, can't promise I'll answer all of them, because if I already answered one in an earlier stream, I'm not going to make it super repetitive. But I will answer pretty much all the comments that are, you know, a logical comment, a logical question or a comment that I haven't discussed before. And I don't always do that at a particular time because I always get sidetracked. But I'll do that halfway through the stream, or an hour into the stream each time, right after our intermission. So this is a good place for people who have a question or whatever for me to have a better chance of me answering it, because I don't always have time to read all the comments on the videos. I read almost all the comments on the combo class channel, but there's too many on here with the shorts and stuff. I read almost all the comments on my non-short videos, but there's too many on the shorts. Here are a lot of national months of. So, I can't even read these all. There's way too many. There's even, as usual, probably some really some ironically like contradicting ones. Like, look right here. In a row, because of the H in the front, they have National High Blood Pressure Education Month and National Hamburger Month. I don't think National Hamburger Month is helping the high blood pressure month. And yeah, there's a lot of these that are so many that some of them are practically the opposite of another one. So do with that info what you will. But I think it would be pretty funny, like I mentioned a while ago, if somebody made this their identity, where they were really committed to following all these things. Whenever it was National Day of, they would do like all 10 of those things. And for whatever it was the national month of, this would just be their identity all month. Although I don't know how they would deal with the contradicting ones. Also, there's a cool bird right there. Let me move the camera over to see if we can get this bird on the camera. There's a lot of bird seeds still spilled around here. And, okay, not in the feeder anymore, only spilled. There's a little bird. Oh, it's hard to point this at it. Oh, there's two birds. Can you see them? Here, I could try and zoom on here. I don't know if the birds are very clear. Alright, well, they moved around a bit. Hopefully people got to see a bird. As you know, during the streams, another recurring segment is going to be animal appreciation, but that can't be one that we typically plan. That's typically going to be one that comes at a random time and distracts what other segment we're in the middle of. So, what other days is it? These are a lot of months. That's too many to analyze all of. So we're going to have to look at a smaller unit. They do have the week ofs right here. Or maybe the week ofs started on Sunday. Yeah, they're going to say the week ofs started yesterday. So, no. This is yesterday's, but the multi-day events starting yesterday were these things. Okay, now today's holidays were these. Some of these are really random. Some of them make more sense. May Day, pretty good choice for which day they put that on. A lot of the others are kind of trying to hog the space by being at the first of the month. There's always way more day ofs on this thing on the first of a month. Come on, if you're going to make a day of, go somewhere in the middle of the month. Alright, I don't even know what all of these mean. So, none of these sound insanely combo class-like, except that I'm sort of my own school principal of the combo class. So, there we go, School Principals Day. And the streams are sort of like our class assemblies. So, there's not really any right there that look super notable for combo class. I guess I will quickly look through this week's day ofs, just to take a peek at them. National Fire Day, that's tomorrow. I am filming an episode tomorrow, uh-oh. And okay. Quickly go through a few more. Bird Day. Too bad today wasn't Bird Day. Also, International Respect for Chickens Day. That's funny that they call it Respect for Chickens. In the first combo class episode ever that came out, this is part of the anniversary in the title. I couldn't fit this all, but it's not just 8 months since I put out the first video on this channel. It's also from tomorrow is 1 year before tomorrow that I put out the first of any combo class footage on YouTube, which was on the main combo class channel, the intro, Welcome to Grade -1. And in that episode, what's funny is one of the class rules I wrote said, respect the classroom chicken, which is right there. And that's really funny that, oh, I don't even know if you could see this. Yeah, sorry, you could only see some of them. Respect for Chickens Day. It's really funny they phrase it as respect, because the rule, for some reason, I've happened to phrase it as respect the classroom chicken. Okay. Although I edited that rule at the end of the grade. It said, after the finale, that we have to respect all the classroom animals, not just the classroom chicken. Because I was going to make another rule about respecting classroom animals. I realized we already kind of had one. It was just only for the classroom chicken, and then I realized it's probably going to be a while before we get a living classroom chicken, so let's just extend the rule early. So, I guess you can't see all these. I need to shrink these a bit. This is, the thing got messed up from how it looked when I had it set up an hour ago, but close enough. Alright. And some cool ones and some incredibly random ones. See, like, this is a scam. How'd Chipotle... Okay, no, it barely means the sauce. Okay, good. I thought it was one of the brand ones. I'm just so on edge, look, because they have all these ones that trick you into thinking it's a national day. Then you look at it, and it's entirely about someone's product. Okay, those are what we have this week. No homework day. We rarely have homework in Convo class. Labyrinth day. That's pretty cool. Alright, so that's enough for our holidays. Now, going back here for a moment. Some activities that I want to discuss is the fact that it is exactly 8 months and a year from when we started the combo class, and how that's pretty wild to me, because this year has, in a way, flown by like every year, but it also feels pretty long, because I feel like I've done a lot of different things. In the past year, 1 year ago, I had just recovered from getting one hip surgery, and I was about to put out the first combo class YouTube stuff ever. And then over that year, you know, a lot happened, including a second hip surgery and all of the combo class stuff that you folks know. So it's felt like a long year at the same time, like it's felt like it flew by. And so it's kind of surprising to me that when I think about how quick it's been, especially how most of you didn't know the original combo class channel before you knew this one. So I'm sure there's exceptions. Leave a comment if you happen to be in the rare minority that is watching on this channel but knew the combo class channel first. But at the beginning, it took me a little while to get some of the first episodes out. So at the time I made this channel, which was about 4 months into having that channel, although I'd already been filming a lot of the shorts on this channel during those 4 months, I only had probably about 6 or 7 videos on the combo class channel at that point. I'm not sure exactly. We ended up with 36 in grade -1. Now we're well on our way into grade -2. And I hope you all have checked out the newest episode on there about bananas and hexagons and all sorts of stuff. And whether or not you like my snack break episodes, this one's a very mathematical snack break. And it relates to a thing I discovered when I was just like messing around with the banana just like a week ago. So it's probably the quickest turnaround for conceiving that I was going to make an episode about something and making the episode, because normally I'm brainstorming them for a really long time and taking a lot of notes and stuff, and this time I ended up just getting this seed in my head about bananas and then deciding to interput a lot of stuff I was saving for later about regular polygon tilings that was probably going to be an episode someday. But I was like, we'll just do that in the banana episode because it fits surprisingly well in the context. So, I'm pretty sure that's linked in the description of this. If anyone hasn't caught that, catch that after the stream. One thing I was wondering, though, is a year is a good unit because it actually describes a certain phenomena in terms of the Earth going around the sun once. The day also is a good unit. A moon cycle is a pretty good unit, even though our months are not exactly that. But that makes a year before tomorrow be cosmically relevant in some way to when I put out the first combo class intro episode. However, this channel's anniversary, that's 8 months, when I was filming my little video today, I was like, so that was 2/3 of a year ago. And then I realized, like, wait, well, I'm not sure if it's exactly 2/3 of a year ago because our calendars are uneven. Months are like different amounts. So I was kind of wondering, how close is it to 2/3 of a year? The past 8 months. And if anyone wants to take this calculation further, something I was interested in is comparing all of the possible, say, 6-month chunks and seeing how much variance there is and seeing to what degree they are off each from actually half a year. And I suppose you'd have to, mention to which way you're including leap days or not. But in general, there are different types of calculation you could make I'm curious about. And in this case, which different 8-month spans, how much variance is there, for example, between saying something was 8 months ago? How many days off can that be compared to a different times 8 months ago from the same day? So right now we're just going to check 8 months from the past 8 months. So let's see, I'm pulling open Wolfram Alpha's calculator, and let's see. Typically, if we're going by an amount of days that was in the year, because we could either say that we're starting with 365.24-ish, and then we're a lot closer to how long a year is. However, in this year, there was just 365 days. So we'll start with 365 to make our answer a little more round and say we're starting with how many days were in this year. Well, wait, and last year, because it's a span that's covering part of 2022 and part of 2023, but neither was a leap year. So in general, 2/3 of that is 243 1/3 days. I wonder what it would be if we had said 0.24 days for the year. That would be closer to a half instead of a third. So, depending on our metric, 2/3 of a year should either be considered somewhere in the range of 243 1/3 to 243 and almost a half. Oh, sorry, you can't see that part. There. So, now what we'll see is how many days has it been? Well, the last 4 months of last year would have been 30 days as September, and then October as 31, November as 30, and December as 31. Oh wait, I don't need to stop there because we need to tack on this year. January as 31, February as 28. And luckily we got a good amount of 31s in the mix, which they're not just every other month. Here we got an extra 2 in a row, and sometimes you get less than that. And we did get that 28 in the mix, which might bring us down. Now, February, then we have March and April. That's the right amount of days in them, right? Let me see. We have January, February, March, April. Yeah. So, to anyone who wants to know my opinion about calendars, though, and how they could be greatly improved, I did make an episode about that on the Combo Class channel a few months ago. That's a fun diagram. Look at this way they drew it. So, it was like, you know, dun, dun, dun. So, that's fun. And 242. See? Yeah, it's off. And it would have been even worse if our range, you know, it would be really bad if our range had started from February. Because that would be February, March, April. Let's do 6 months. Let's see how much half years. I think I might have put this in that episode. But, so, if we had started from February, 6 months would go January, February, March. Wait, no, April, May, June, July. Am I doing that all correct? Wait, January, February, March, April, May. Yeah. So, you know what would be the worst is, I guess this is tied for equal badness with something else. But 181 right there, if we had gone, you know, so if we're saying from February, 6 months from now, and you mean the day of the month, 6 months from now, that's 181 days. If you say the same thing from March, then you have March, April, May, June, July, and then August does have 31. So from March, 184, 3 days off. That is just crazy different. What is wrong with our calendar? So when you say 6 months from now, depending on when you say that, could mean a 3-day discrepancy. That's just scandalous that we let that slide and just let that calendar system stay like that. So, I haven't looked at the comments much in this stream. I'm going to look at those for a moment before we switch topics. And someone asked, what is this setup? I don't know exactly what you mean, what part of setup, if you mean like what I'm filming it on, or presumably all the weird stuff right here, maybe. This is my combo classroom. And I am filming this just on the built-in camera on my new computer. I don't have a separate webcam plugged in, but the built-in one is better than my old computer. All right, shout out to Stick here, who is one of my mods on the Discord, and said that it was his daughter's 2nd birthday the other day. So, happy birthday to her. And someone says everything is wrong with the calendar, and pretty much, you know, not many good benefits to give it. So, someone says that in the Arab calendar, it is more of a lunar calendar, which is cool. I wouldn't mind a lunar calendar. And someone said, happy anniversary, and thank you. It is, like I said, a few little ones at once, and I don't even know if I'll keep that in the title. When I process the video, I might put something, you know, whatever I found most exciting that we discussed in the title when it processes. But I figured that is a good backdrop for where we're at, because at the beginning of each month, not only is it a fresh start, part of why I liked putting out the first video on this channel on the first of a month was it would be easy to keep track of how long it had been since a given point, and easy to put it into increments and stuff. Of course, other anniversaries in your life will come at random times. For example, the 17th of January means a lot to me because of a crazy incident that occurred to me once. Or there are a few days in June that are important to me. Now, with the calendar, there are many possible improvements, and since I already made an episode about that, I will probably wait another year before compiling some more calendar-y thoughts. Next year, we will have to do something calendar-y, although it's more related to numbers, which is that 2024 is a tetrahedral number, and there's not that many of them at that size, and they are numbers that can be found in Pascal's triangle that are like the older brother of triangular numbers, and really they're a just next dimension version of triangular numbers. And if we can get 2024 marbles or something, then we're going to make a giant tetrahedron of them. So, people brainstorm what is the best bet for me to get 2024 of something round and marble-like. So, let's see. I'm going to shrink the comments for a bit, so feel free to leave the comments. Like I said, we're going to be doing an intermission at 5:55 my time for 5 minutes, and when that happens, afterward, I will make sure to check the comments again. Now, 5:55, I almost want to call it a rep unit time, because a rep digit time, because a rep digit can have any repeated digit. Rep unit refers to like a hyper 11 in our base, as I call them, but where it's only ones. But like the number 555 is considered a rep digit. And the reason why it's not fully a rep digit time is it doesn't go all the way down to the smallest unit, I guess. I could have made it 555 and 55 seconds, but then I'm going to have to be checking the seconds, and it's going to be way closer to 556 if I make it 55555. So 55555 is basically 556. We're going with 55500. Or just, 555 being the minute value. So, another thing that I should do before it gets too dark, if I can untangle it while it's lighter out here, is I had another cool scientific-y device I wanted to show that makes this string be propelled out at a pretty fast rate and holds it floating in the air. This is, once again, not something I'm sponsored by or anything, but something that was sent to me by a viewer, probably by George Carozzi, who has sent a lot of cool science toys around here. And this device glows in the dark kind of and looks really cool at night, but it was really hard to see in the camera at night. And so, especially when I was filming it on the computer's webcam while trying to manage the live stream and manage the science toy and talk about it. So even though it glows in the dark and looks really cool, as far as doing it on a live stream, it's going to be a lot easier to see in the day before it's dark out. So now I'm trying to untangle this thing, but it got really tangled. I also have something I got for free here is a lot of colored pencils and washable markers. They're not dry erase markers. They're just normal washable markers. So I need to figure out a lot of art projects to do or something. I also got this large calculator. Check that out. Got this from a friend. Doesn't function anymore, so don't worry if we're gentle with it. I am curious what buttons it includes, because any calculator with a ton of buttons, they're just going to be including all sorts of function. But ones that only have a limited amount of buttons, it's sort of interesting to note what they include. Hey, this one doesn't include the number 7. No, I'm kidding. Obviously, they're going to include the digits 0 through 9. Probably almost guaranteed your plus and minus sign. I think it's pretty likely you'll get an equal sign too. But really, I mean, This one chose to dedicate a slot to percent. Lame. What do they mean? Percent basically is multiplying / dividing, depending how you look at it, by 100. They should teach kids that instead of dedicating a button on it to the percent. Here you got, I guess, your different types of on and off switch and clearing stuff. Well, off is all the way over here. I feel like they could have gotten those on the same button somehow. And you get plus or minus. That's interesting, that like the plus / minus, where it could be either values such as if you want to know, like, you know, if you write like that radical symbol that this button is to mean I'm taking the square root, a lot of people think this means both, but it doesn't. This symbol only sends you to the principal one that is, in this case of most of the cases you know, means the positive number version. And so if you wanted to say both and you don't want to write it as a polynomial, I guess they want you to go plus or minus, then that symbol. So I guess it's good to have the square root symbol. Could have been better to try and make it a way that was like the nth root of something. Like what if you need to take a cube root or something? But square roots are quite useful, so that's good. I always forget what these M1s mean. I don't even remember. Those are like to remember one of your functions or something. I don't feel like that's that necessary on a calculator like this. Can't you just write down whatever it says? Like, you really are going to have your calculator only have 22 buttons so that you could have 3 buttons that I think relate to saving something, instead of just being like, our calculator can't do enough to be worth saving. Let's just use these buttons for something. I guess it's a paradox. Maybe if they used these buttons for something, it would have been worthwhile enough to have memory buttons. So, what we're going to do, because, I don't know, this thing's really tangled. I'm not sure if I'll get this thing untangled or I might have to work with it in between toward another live stream, is note... Let me see. One thing I wanted to make a video about here possibly at some point that I'm going to put in a few details of now are a few things I have learned or changed over the past year that I've been making the YouTube combo class videos. I mean, I guess I was filming from a little bit before that, but the year I've been releasing them. Now, to anybody who's going to make videos yourself, remember to look out for ways you could grow and to listen to criticism and stuff, because maybe sometimes if your viewers mention something's a little off, they could have a better eye for spotting stuff than your biased look as a creator. When you spend a lot of hours editing something, it's hard to see it from a blank slate like a viewer would, and it can be hard to really gauge what stuff works well or doesn't. And so sometimes you got to listen out for criticism and look yourself for ways you can grow. And looking at some of the earlier combo class episodes, I do think in the past year, I've changed a significant amount about how I make the episodes. And some of this I'll take some notes about and quantify for later, but a few big things are, I think I have put more intention with my main episodes or even bonus videos here, although this applies less to streams, into having an arc or story in the episode or a journey, which I did have from the beginning as a goal, but I think that a certain type of video making, I've realized more than ever, is a certain type of storytelling, even though you're not always telling like a fantasy tale or whatever. Sometimes it's like, let's say you were seeing this number. Well, that might make you wonder this. Well, then you might try this, which could lead to seeing that. And things like that are a form of storytelling. And so I've been thinking throughout, the year of ways to have each episode have its own little arc. I also think I've improved my delivery in general of getting more natural with myself and working with my skills and even working within the ways that I'm imperfect at things in a more comedic way, because those can be sometimes your sense of natural humor. I've also, tried to change things about the lighting and the presentation and stuff, but one goal I have in this grade is I have a lot of different types of experiments I want to try. Some shots I want to do different visual ways of representing. I want to go to different locations I have planned, certain shots that are like stop motion or things that will be different types of visual than you're used to. And my goal now is to work those in without breaking up the chaotic natural flow or that sort of arc or story that a good video can have. And another thing I've been working on is when I'm planning an episode, this is slightly more toward the playing of the game of wanting more people to see my videos and find my stuff, more than my main caring about the episode itself being creative and good. But thinking in advance about what I might call an episode, and like also what text might be on the thumbnail or what imagery might be and stuff, because it can be good to figure out what is the catchiest part of the episode, not just for what I'm going to put in the thumbnail or the text, but also to sort of weave that into your arc of the episode, as there are ways at the beginning and the end of things to emphasize the interestingness or strangeness or coolness of something that we're still working on. Now, a lot of growing will continue to come as I'm able to work with more editors and stuff like that, because certain of the still kind of sloppy aspects of the presentation are due to me having to run a lot of aspects of the show and spending a lot more of my time on like brainstorming stuff and filming stuff than on like learning technology and stuff like that. But there are still a lot of ways we have learned and grown over this grade, and we have grown more clocks as well. A year ago I only had a couple of these, and I've also learned a lot of things in my personal life from going through those surgeries and such. But I'm going to save a few of those things for a video later, because if I do too much discussion of this stuff, it might be boring for certain categories of people. And it might be, if I kept ranting about this, more applicable to people who are going to maybe make videos themselves someday. Which I do recommend, of course, if any of my advice makes it sound scary. That's like advice coming from someone who wants this to also be an income in addition to a creative project, and who has like really big ideas that I hope to get far places in the world. If you are just wondering if you should try making a video or not, and you don't have as high stakes or high lofty goals for it as I do, then you should, because any amount of views is more than the average person on the street is getting on YouTube, because your average neighbor or friend probably hasn't put out any YouTube videos this past month. And so unless you're in a very specific type of filmmakery or YouTubery community, and so even if you just get 10 views on your video, you'll be getting more than a lot of people get. And they'll probably secretly be jealous of the fact that you just tried, because there's more difference between nothing and a sloppy YouTube video than there is between a sloppy YouTube video and a really good YouTube video. And to anyone who does try creating stuff, part of the being willing to grow is over a long scale of time. Like, you want every dozen of your videos to have some way as they're improving in quality over the last batch of dozen videos. And you got to be Of course, all the advice you could give ends up also breaking down to you have to know the right middle amount to do something, because you can overdo or underdo all sorts of things. But that's just a little random stuff about some things that may have changed over this year. Of course, there's cycles that repeat in addition to things changing, and I consciously let my hair grow longer and wilder throughout last grade, and there's a good chance that could happen again this grade. There's also a good chance this lab coat will get to the status of the old lab coat, which has dice fused in it and is utterly burnt to a crisp. But I still have it around in case either I do something dangerous enough that I want to have 2 lab coats on, or in case I invite someone over and want to offer it to them to wear while we do a science experiment, although I don't know if they'd even put it on. So, in a minute or two, we're going to do our intermission that, like I said, from 5:55 for 5 minutes, we are going to pause while I go inside and grab some water and stuff like that. And that's the best time during these Monday streams to leave any questions you have. Of course, all comments throughout the stream are fun because I will check them at sporadic times. But if you have any particular questions or things you want me to see, that's a good place to do it. I also do intend on my new computer, once I re-download the Discord directly onto the computer, to go spend some more time in the combo class Discord before long, because that is a cool place to chat with other combo lords if you want to. And there's also a subreddit and stuff. And of course, for the extra helpful people, there is a Patreon. Now, while I go, so that it looks extra cool, since it's getting darkish, I will plug in the plasma orb. Part of the reason I don't want it plugged in like all the time is right now it plugs into the computer. I don't have the converter that lets us go into the wall right here. So, actually maybe I have one inside, but right now here I don't. And so I'm worried that if I have it plugged into the computer while I'm saying something important in the stream, that it'll contribute to glitchiness. It'll like use some of the computer's power or something. I don't know, I'm not a tech guy. But for now, while I'm gone, who cares if it glitches? Now, I will be showing the plasma orb here, so we might miss squirrels if they come, but when I go inside, I'll also grab a few nuts, because I remember last time I was streaming, when I put a nut up on that sill, a squirrel ran by and grabbed it and knocked over the shell of a clock. All right, it's intermission time. Here's a little plasma orb. Okay, you can't see it enough. It's not dark enough. Let's see. I don't know if it's even worth seeing the plasma orb. Might be more worth looking for this. Yeah, you gotta wait till it's darker to see this thing. Instead, you'll be on squirrel watch. And I'm back from the intermission. Leave a comment if I missed any wildlife. I did bring, like I said, a few walnuts for the squirrel. I think there's another neighbor giving the squirrel walnuts. It always has whole walnuts, or either an entire walnut in its mouth or like part of one, including a shell. But, you know, these are some lucky squirrels, I guess. They like to go way up here, so I'll give them a walnut or two. I guess not all the way on that upper ledge while it's super windy, but pretty close. And we'll see if a squirrel runs back there in the background. It is getting cold out here. Now, like I mentioned, first I'm going to go through some comments and see how our folks are doing. All right, and let's see. Someone says they should have made it a scientific calculator. If you mean this big one on the wall here, this actually was once a working calculator. It's just broken now. It's not just a decoration, it's just a broken calculator. So they, you know, we could say they should have made all calculators scientific calculators, but some use for making the easy to make ones. Some scientific calculators are really expensive. I was shocked when I saw that they still use ones that are like barely a number off, if even a number off, from the TI-84 that I used back in the day. And they still cost $1 bajillion. Now, bajillion is a variable term, but in calculators, bajillion means kind of a lot. So, I mean, it's not as much as if I said like a bajillion grains of sand. In that case, bajillion would be a larger number. But bajillion, some of these calculators are like $120 for, I guess that's for a graphing calculator, which is more than, I guess, the ones just called scientific calculators. But that's wild. You could, you know, for that price, practically get a used laptop and run Desmos. And speaking of which, I will make sure to answer the comments, but I did want to note one thing that I like to do in my streams is Desmos graphing. And a lot of people have recommended other ones, and another free one is GeoGebra that I've heard also recommended at times. And I did download GeoGebra onto my computer, but when I saw what they could do, I'll show in a minute maybe, but when I saw what GeoGebra could do, it has a lot more abilities in terms of like types of thing, like I can 3D graph and various things that the online Desmos thing didn't have, but it was worse at some of the things Desmos was, including the first thing I tested. The first thing I tested was one of my favorite graphs on Desmos, of those ones with simple combos of sines and tangents and stuff that make big spirals. And on Desmos, if you're at the wrong resolution, they're kind of glitchy. And on the downloaded GeoGebra, that should be even better than their online one, it was a lot glitchier looking than it was for Desmos. So for the type of thing I like to show in my streams often, which is like simple equations that make wacky shapes, it seemed like GeoGebra was going to be a lot glitchier, actually. Just to let people who have recommended that know, we will try it, but might not necessarily suit our needs as much. Thank you for all of the nice comments. To the fellow who said his son calls me the Mr. Bean of math. That's cool. I remember watching Mr. Bean back in the day. He's funny. There was a couple of those I really liked as a kid, because I remember my family used to get DVDs from a local movie store. Before, you know, now they have everything on Netflix and whatever, and I'm pretty sure that store's closed because they went out of business because of everything like Netflix. But we used to get DVDs from like a local movie store, and they had just like one or two discs of certain things that I liked, like the old Mr. Bean show or whatever, the TV show. And so I would like ask for the ones I liked, and they would only have one or two of those ever, so we'd have to sometimes rewatch those. So there's like a few episodes of the old Mr. Bean show that I know really well, And then there's probably a lot I've never seen. So someone says they saw that I am a musician. Yeah, so throughout my life I've played a lot of music, and that will be incorporated more in combo class as the grades go on. I have made a lot of music over the years, and I also worked at a music shop for years. And I actually, from working at a music shop, transitioned into music teaching. And I had like piano and guitar students and stuff like that. And I was doing that. Then I first was doing that through the same shop. And then I transitioned into teaching private students, a lot of the same ones myself. I like amicably parted with the shop. I'm friends with the owner. And then that was like through my surgeries. It made sense for me to separate from the shop and just manage it myself. But I was then teaching private students on my own up until 2 months ago. So 2.5 months ago today, I probably literally right now, probably literally, maybe not down to the minute, I forget when exactly my students were lined up, but at approximately the time, maybe literally of like 2.5 months ago at this type of time, I would have been teaching music lessons. Now, I have been able to transition out of that in a still risky maneuver, and we'll still have to see where it goes, to combo class. I don't make enough money to like even pay for rent somewhere. I live with my family, but I make enough money to fund the show itself. And that's actually increasing, which to me doesn't really mean more money to spend on myself yet. It means I can hire more people more days of the week for combo class. And so that's because of the Patreon supporters and from all the people who watch the videos a lot and don't mind the ads if you get the ads. That stuff is actually, on its way to being an actual income for me at a really cool rate, considering that this is if we went it based on monetization, it was more like 6 months ago that I first ever made a cent from combo class. And probably only, a month or two ago that I started making as much as I was spending on it in a given month. So hopefully that continues. If it does, I will hire more people and get more cool props. And beyond that point, maybe someday I'll be able to afford my own rent somewhere. And beyond that, if we ever make a ton of money, I'll get a combo castle in the woods and have a whole team to make really cool content every day. And we will find a way to spend most of my money on providing free education or something, because I don't really care about money, so we can find a way to use my money. If I don't need it for the show combo class, we can find a way to donate it to an educational charity. So let's see what other comments we have. Someone says they managed to, very unrelated seeming comment, but cool. They managed to obtain a juvenile tiger shark jaw with intact teeth. So that unless this is some complicated analogy related to one of the previous comments, seems unrelated, but very cool. So I don't know if you mean like the skeleton of it or what, but I don't know, sounds interesting. Having animals like that is cool. You said you had a dried up seahorse as well. Well, around here we have a wasp nest somewhere in the vicinity. I think the wind blew it around somewhere. I got to be careful with that little thing. Somewhere around here we have that wasp nest that was actually a semi-crucial component of my last episode. Shout out to the viewer Traveling Through Time who mailed me that once. And to anyone who wants to mail me weird stuff, remember that my address, not my home address, my private mailbox address is in the description here. Now, someone says, but we can't leave the yard because they love it here. Don't worry. I don't plan on, leaving for a long time. My family is slowly paying off this house, so maybe someday we will have this house paid off and own it. And I like this corner. Don't worry. If we may take trips, so there could be, a month where I'm out in the woods somewhere. I like nature for my backdrop, so there probably won't be a month where we're just in a room somewhere. But there could be months where we're out in the woods somewhere else, and I bring some clocks and whiteboards out there to a different natural location. But for the meantime, I'm not planning on moving anywhere that's, if I move anywhere in the near future, it'll be close enough to here that I can come here a few days a week to film. Someone's saying, Mr. Beast should invest in me. Yeah, if for some reason I ever got the chance to talk to Mr. Beast, I would love to do an educational venture with that guy. Say what you will about his content can be cheesy at times. He's a very great businessman and great philanthropist. Really respect the guy. So, maybe someday after Team C's and Team Trees and such, we'll do an educational-based one. I'm trying to think of an ease that works with that. Let me look up, what would rhyme with ease? Let's see. That's educational. Because he called his last big philanthropic personal ventures Team Trees to help out trees and Team Seas to help out seas. Let's see. I can't think of an educational one. Team Degrees, we teach everyone about geometry. Something like that. I don't know. We'll invent a new word. Team Threes for Threeven. Team Threes. Yeah. So that's it. Okay. Listen up, Mr. Beast. I got your next year's rhyming word. It's about teaching everybody with free educational tools how cool Threeven items are, as well as petitioning the dictionary to have it. So, someone asked if I'm in the backyard. Also, for whoever commented bees, although that's less purely educational, I would support that. Bees are very underrated, and as pollinators, they're very helpful. And some types of bee are dying out, and bees do need support. There will be a bee episode at some point where I, try and prove that bees are maybe the most underrated animal. Not necessarily every bee. Like, I don't mean like a giant hornet. Like, depending if you count wasps as bees or what, they're different. But, I mean sort of like a honeybee type bee is maybe the most underrated animal. Not the best animal, but the most underrated maybe. And I'll make an episode about that and about how they're important too and stuff. And some cool facts about honey. But I've had a vision in my head that when I have that episode, I will have one of those bee suits on and I'll have a bunch of bees on me during one of the shots. So we're waiting until I can set that up before we can do the bee episode. And to whoever asked if I'm in the backyard, and in the backyard, yep, we are in a corner of, my family's house. And there's a tiny corner back here that didn't have as much use. And the house and yard aren't that big, so a little bit of space goes a long way. And so we've used it for various random things, including just having like a little picnic table out here and stuff. But once it wasn't being used for anything at one point, I was like, can I please put a desk and a bunch of clocks back there? And since I have the smallest room in the house as far as bedrooms, the family doesn't mind too much that I also use this corner. And I became more and more comfortable back here. Thank you to whoever says they just subscribed to the Patreon. That's very helpful. I also do have some more cool bonus stuff that I'm going to be putting out there that was going to come out at the end of April, but my old computer broke and I'm going to have to re-edit it. Won't take that long, but I do have to re-edit it because the old computer's iMovie files there's a new iMovie and this and that. And to whoever said they wanted to commend me on doing the videos on this channel in one take and doing it coherent, and that from personal experience they know that's hard. And that's true, that it is difficult, and often I mess up in the first minute and I'm overly critical of it, where if I'm filming and I mess up in the first minute, I'm like, stop, redo. Especially if I'm filming on my own and not hiring someone and it's just my own time. I can do that like 20 or 30 times sometimes, where I make a minor mistake at the beginning and I'm like, oh, stumbled over a word, I'll just restart. But then once I'm a few minutes in, then it takes a little more than a stumble to make me want to redo it. And once I'm a minute or two into the video, I sort of get into the mindset of like, we're in it to win it. This is the take. And then I'm like, okay, I'm on stage, kind of. I gotta deliver this speech right. And it's funny how sometimes people perform well under pressure, where I think that if I was not under as much pressure to continually get it right at that moment, it would be easier to mess up. Like when I'm on my own time, I can be more scatterbrained and various things. But then if I'm on a live stream or a video that's one take or whatever, I'm kind of on stage to say words that make sense in a row for a long time. So it's a skill also that takes practice, and I've, like I mentioned earlier in this stream, probably gotten better at that throughout the grade. I also have practice at it from being someone who rants a decent amount to my friends about various things. Like I'm a semi-talkative person, so I've always talked a decent amount, kind of like I do to you guys, to my friends and family. But also that I write a billion pounds of notes as part of my daily stuff I like to do. I love writing things, whether it's just daily thoughts, stuff for books, stuff for songs, stuff for combo class, random things. And so I often have practice of that sort to whatever degree that bleeds over into speaking. Also, as a music teacher, I probably have practice where I was on the spot to like give a good lesson for half an hour in a row. In fact, my live streams, there was a bunch of my lessons turned digital because through COVID and then through my surgeries. And so by the end, they were all digital because that was all I could offer with the surgeries. And they had all become that for a while from COVID too. And so since they were digital and it required saying educational stuff for a long time in a row, it's almost like my live streams are just like a more fun version of that. They're pretty reminiscent, except a lot more fun. I did have fun doing the lessons in a way. When I was in the middle of them, I could get really into it, and I do miss my students. Hope they're doing awesomely with whatever new teachers they have. And if any of them are watching my videos or randomly see this, you are awesome. But now was the time for me to have full focus on combo class. And to whoever said I'm on the roof right now, I haven't gone up on the house's roof because I'm a little bit scared of heights. Like I have a little bit of that like gut reaction feeling that you can get when you have a physical reaction to being on a ledge. And some phobias like that, it's kind of hard to control because like obviously I'm not scared of talking about heights. Not many people would have the phobia so bad that they're scared of talking about heights, but you get sort of like an actual weird gut feeling. When I see blood in real life, I also get sort of lightheaded in a weird way, or like light-footed. It feels like I'm not standing on anything. And I'm totally fine talking about it. It's not necessarily a concept that scares me, but certain things you have like a phobia, like meaning the irrational part of the fear, like reaction to. Some of which can be good, because having a little bit of that for heights probably helped us out a lot over the years. Probably a lot more people would have fallen off roofs if you didn't have that feeling. But then I was procrastinating, I'll go on the roof someday, and then I got all those surgeries, and now I'm going to need to be a little further past my recoveries of my hip surgeries before I'm comfortable going on the roof. There is an attic that I go up in sometimes, but I do want to someday maybe do a Conquering My Fear of Heights episode where we go to bigger and bigger mountaintops throughout the episode, and I need to look up if I'm able to skydive with like the stuff that is now in my bones after having to get surgery. Like I'm a ceramic Borg. It's literally partially ceramic and titanium in me. So I'm a cyborg and a ceramic Borg. So I need to look up if I'm able to, but if I can, we would end the Conquering the Fear of Heights episode with skydiving, which sounds really scary. So, someone says they stopped being scared of heights when they started finding entertainment in hearing other people be scared of heights. I guess I could try and work up with that. I watch a lot of videos of people being scared of heights that are try and laugh at them. I don't know. It can be good to look at things with a sort of comical sense. Sometimes people with the best sense of humor are the ones who have had to train it due to having either naturally hard lives or hard stuff going in their brain, or like that hard stuff going in your brain could be having a lot of phobias or something. I actually have a difficult brain. I go through a lot of difficult stuff at certain times a day, but I really enjoy making videos and live streams, so you folks usually see the best side of me. Now that we are past our checking and making sure I got to all the comments section, which I'll probably also do at the end of the stream if I have time, what I'm going to note is I want to do a little vote, both for the people who are watching now or for the people who are watching this later. You can leave it in a comment later, because you'll have a few days to vote or whatever. And what we're going to vote on once in a while on Mondays is what type of topic out of things I can imagine doing a bonus stream about at some point in the week you would like to see as a bonus stream. And there's a lot of possible things that I love doing in my live streams, but I'm just going to list a few possibilities, and then you folks will pick, of these possibilities, which one you would prefer to see a bonus live stream of this week. And remember, you can vote after the fact in comments too. In fact, since comments are helpful on the videos, if you vote both places, your vote will count as 1 1/3 votes. Can't count it as 2 votes. Can't even count it as 1 1/2 votes. It'll count as 1 1/3 votes. It'll slightly help your cause. But the things that I will say I've had on my mind to possibly do more streams of in the near future could be, one of them is a graph stream again. For those who love graphs, we could do a stream where we return to Desmos and pull up GeoGebra to compare the two. That's going to be called A. Option, and if you're going to comment it, put it like in brackets or something so I can tell what you have there. And that it's not some other, they're not starting a sentence and forgot to finish it or something. And B is going to be another, and this is something I've only done once before, and it'll be slightly different because I'm on a new computer, but one where I use my mathematical-ish techniques to make a beat from scratch that I could use for soundtracks later, where you'll see a process I use to make soundtrack beats and such. Option C will be going through rare old videos or photos or stories, sort of like rare Demotro lore from grade 0. And option D is going to be... Option D will be an artistic stream where we paint a clock on 1 or 2 round things. So you can leave one of those as a comment in brackets if you have any preferences as to which of those sound most appealing. It's likely I will do all of them eventually, so it's maybe more so determining the order, but maybe it's also likely I'll do some of these multiple times, so maybe it's also determining the frequency. So, there will also, when I ask this question again every couple Mondays, I might do this voting thing, or most Mondays, maybe I'll have something or another for us to vote on. Like, for example, maybe sometimes we can vote on what item I will buy next for the classroom. And when we do this, sometimes I'll have other choices, because there'll be other random things on my mind. But those were a few things that I've been planning on incorporating into a stream before long. Someone asks if they were to fly above my house in a plane, would they see a giant clock? I doubt it. But you never know. Not yet, probably. All the clocks are, for one, facing more standing up and facing like forward. But they also, I don't think, are big enough to see from a plane, unless you flew way too low. And another thing I'm going to show briefly while... I'm seeing a little delay between what people are leaving. I'll wait for after the fact viewers, so I'm not going to decide right now what we're going to do, but I am curious what people vote. But I do want to show this as well, because we have a little delay between me and you at the time frame. And what is this? Well, this is a strange looking thing. I'm pretty sure what I'm about to show you again, it relates to some type of onion or garlic. Something from that sort of family, which also is growing back here, although that's harder to see than the giant potato plants that you can see from this angle, that normally something like that, if left out, would rot. But in a sunny area in my front yard, I found this strange thing, which seems like the shape of an onion or garlic thing, and the outside seems like the husk of that dried up in this really strange way that looks like a knitted basket. And on the inside, whatever's in there sort of like dried, tiny and small. There's like a small circular thing on the inside that shrunk. And the outside like separated into just having these threads of it left. The rest of it like rotted away and got bleached into this or something. So this thing I thought was pretty neat. It has like this like movable texture, sort of like you had a little like mesh basket or something. Not 100% sure that my hypothesis for what it is correct. It could be something completely different. So, that is the majority of what we're going to be doing in this stream. But, let me see. There is maybe 1 or 2 more things I wanted to share. Also, make sure that if you haven't seen these things before I end the stream, that you might want to see, if you're the type of person who watches my streams, my little announcement video. Even though you might know some of the announcements, that's some details, particularly about the shorts I'll be putting out throughout grade -2. And there's also the new combo class episode, and a few of those shorts are out. So The one that I put on this channel, I put it out pretty quick, and I think it might have been set to notify people. But like I said, many of the shorts in the future might not. And in the descriptions of these Monday streams is a good way to check if you missed any, because without having to check the shorts tab yourself, which you could also. Because I'll link the ones from this channel and the other channel in the descriptions of these weekly recurring Monday streams. Now, let me see what else I had that I wanted to mention. Oh yeah, there was something strange I got that I wanted to show. So, out of our various things that we do on the streams, our different segments of sorts, there's a lot of them are based on concepts. And so something that we'll probably have some reason to do in each Monday stream is go to our object time, where we look at some sort of noun, some sort of physical object that's new in the classroom or unique or I haven't explained yet or whatever. For example, we've done that recently with stuff like the Toro Flux and various things. Now, what I found right here was when I was walking around today running some errands, I found this on the street for free, like how someone leaves something like way out right by the curb when they want to get rid of it. And so I was like, I need to take this because this is a weird coincidence. I had been thinking about which themes I want to start working in more from my sort of the themes that recur throughout my dreams and the fiction I write and things that I think make good analogies and such. These things have often already trickled into combo class, such as clocks and dice and fire. But another one is, I think keys and doors are very symbolic and interesting and can make a lot of good analogies and do show up in importance in some of the fiction things that I'm working on writing. And so I was thinking at some point we would have a bunch of doorknobs or a bunch of locks or keys or stuff like that around the classroom too. Now, I went clock shopping at this old antique shop-like place that had all this old used goods. And the clocks were too expensive, but don't get me started on the doorknobs. The old broken doorknobs they were trying to sell for $55. These old rusted broken doorknobs. I was like, all right, we're going to wait another season before we have any doorknobs in the classroom, I guess. Really, whole doors would be pretty cool, although I'll have to be careful they don't fall down and crush me. But coincidentally, I saw some doorknobs when I was walking down the street. And yes, plural. Now, there's this whole board thing full of different things you could sort of fiddle with. So, and I still haven't quite figured this out. There's all these different things that are good to fiddle with, I think. That seems to be their purpose, because at first I thought it's an art project related to doors, because they have all this door-based stuff. But then I was like, they have door stops, and is this more built to be a good distractory tool or therapeutic tool for somebody who has the mental desire to fiddle with stuff a lot? There are some conditions people have even where they're compulsory desire to fiddle with stuff. And is this designed for that, or is it a very strange art project? I genuinely don't know. But someone was putting it out for free on the curb, and I was like, this 100% fits the combo class vibe. It looks very strange and combo classy, and I wanted doorknobs in the classroom. Got a lock here for free, a couple little lock things. Or if it is something to help somebody with a mental disorder where they need to fiddle with all this stuff, I'm cool with that too. I'm always down to increase people's willingness to have discussions about mental health and stuff. So some people have valid conditions this could help. But I genuinely don't really know. This thing kind of baffles me. Somebody says it's a puzzle, probably. If you mean this, it'd be a very obscure puzzle because there's not much you can like really move. But maybe it is a clue, I would certainly call it. Very much a clue. Now, I have gone... Oh, yeah, there's more on the other side, too. I have gone clue hunting for fun with friends before, where we go out into areas and look for weird clues like this, practically. Like, you know, what could this mean? What sort of spy is trying to send what sort of message with this one? But, yeah, let me know if anybody has any theories. Do you think it's that this is helpful for people who like to fiddle with stuff? Do you think it's somebody's art project? Or do you think it's something else? I don't know. So, this thing's pretty cool. I need to find a good home for it, but we're going to put it somewhere in the combo classroom. It's a nice decoration. So, thank you all for joining me. I will be wrapping up before too long here. And it looks like for anyone in the future, if you want to vote for something other than, I think B was... Which one was B? Was B the music one? I forget. I'll go through later in the future. Future Demotro will do that. So, let me see if I had any other topics that I wanted to cover. I think that was most of it. Now, we didn't really talk about the number 8, apart from the fact that there was a sort of funny coincidence that it was 8 months and 8 weeks of something related to the channel in this series. But the number 8's cool, so we should note that one of the important facts about the number 8 is that sometimes 1 in certain lists of things is called the trivial member of it, which is kind of unfair, but kind of makes sense because it helps out sometimes to compare the non-1 elements of it, because it's in so many different sequences, and then it's harder to find uniqueness out of certain other overlaps. And so, if we call 1 trivial as a square or cube or things like that, like maybe we say 4 is the first non-trivial square number, because 1 squared is 1, but 2 squared is 4 is getting us somewhere a little further. In that metric, 8 is the smallest non-trivial cube. It's also the only cube that's 1 under a square, and more so, those are the only neighboring perfect powers, are 8 and 9. And 8 is a fun one. Since we're in Modular Monday number 8, I could have shown a book that I'm going to make some video about in the future. So we'll see it in that future video where it's the number dictionary that is just numbers. And it's somewhat in columns of 8, so it's basically going to relate to mod 8 patterns. So when we see our mod 8 patterns, those will certainly show up because I want to find a way to get my money out of that number dictionary that turned out to be just numbers. So I'm going to make some more content using it. And all I can figure out to do with it is someday explain more about mod 8 because it comes in 8 different columns. Now, 8, though, being not only a square or a cube number, it's a cube of 2, so we can all say powers of 2 are a notable thing. So 8, it's power of 2. That means it's one of the numbers in binary that's just a 1 then a bunch of zeros. So 8 really would be binary's number that looked like 1,000. So you know, to a computer, 8 is the first 4-digit number. So that's pretty notable. Now, leave a comment if you have any other favorite facts about 8. I'm gonna, in fact, let me just see what Wikipedia has to say about 8. Let's see what they have for their mathematics section here. All right, so here's some facts about 8. So, the first number that's neither prime nor semi-prime. So, semi-prime numbers are numbers with 2 prime factors, which are allowed to be the same, like in the case of the number 4. And this is the one they're saying about the first non-zero perfect power, one less than another. Oh, it's Fibonacci number. Forgot that one. That's good. Sphenic numbers, which are fun. That's a nickname for numbers basically that have the prime signature 1, 1, 1. They're sort of the third hyper 11 prime signature-wise type of number. But sphenic numbers basically are numbers with 3 different prime factors, and they always have 8 divisors. Now, you got your octagons. Those are fun, and there's some cool stuff in octagons. If we ever need an octagon, maybe I'll have to get a hold of one of those octagonal stop signs. We already have a different sort of stop sign, the stop school crossing one, that is over there now. I'm not sure if you can see it. It is in the corner. Now, yes, you could call the hypercube an 8-cell. So that's quite notable. That is one of the simpler 4D shapes, and it's the one called a tesseract by some, or a hypercube by some, and it is the 8-cell as a slightly more technical name of it. And this is, some of these are related to powers of 2, like that's related to power of 2. And this, the fact that past the quaternions, you get 2 octonions, and those ones are also related to it being a power of 2. So a lot of this is just cool stuff powers of 2 do, but some of them, it wouldn't be any power of 2. Like, you cannot make this sort of algebra forever. And so sometimes it's only the low powers of 2. And this is at the right spot of powers of 2 to be a notable one. The 8-cell. So, 8 is a pretty cool number. Now, that's about all for today's stream. Thank you all for joining me. And I will be wrapping it up now. It's a little before 7, but that is sort of my approximate ending time of when I'll have used all of the topics I wanted to cover in a given week. We will briefly turn on the plasma sphere maybe to see if we can get any clearer vision of it. But it's still pretty dark. Still probably pretty hard to see. We'll have to see this when it is extra dark. So, thank you all for joining me. We'll be back with more fun stuff this week, including a couple more shorts. That bonus video I've mentioned a few times, but now I have to re-edit part of, about slender salamanders. And a lot more cool stuff, which I'm mostly excited about the main channel combo class episodes. That's what I have a bunch of really fun topics this month. And a lot of those will be, as many of my favorite videos are, something strange about numbers that I think more people should know about. So, love you all. I will catch you in the next one, and hope you're having a good